Good morning and afternoon to everyone joining us for today's live chat with Pharos CEO Kevin Pickhardt, all about navigating through COVID-19. My name is Lindsay Lamb, and I am on the marketing team here at Pharos. For our webinars previously, Pharos staff are usually in a conference room together, and you may have heard my voice, but because of the remote working environment many of us are finding ourselves in today, Kevin and I are both on camera, bringing this event to you from each of our homes. During this chat, Kevin will answer any questions you might have regarding our response to the COVID-19 crisis, including business continuity planning, employee care, and customer care. We did receive several questions submitted ahead of time, and if you have any questions come to mind today while Kevin's talking, you can enter those in the questions panel on the right-hand side of your GoToWebinar screen. So with that, Kevin, welcome, and I will hand it over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. And yeah, I have to smile because this is our new form of togetherness. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about work or family. And as I think back to, wasn't that long ago that we were all operating in the offices and sharing meeting rooms, and it is both interesting and incredible to see how quickly things can change, but also how rapidly we all can adjust to the changing environment in which we live. And that is certainly where we are. And that's really what this afternoon is all about. I appreciate people taking time out of your days, wherever you happen to be, to come and spend a few minutes with us. And we do want to make this two-way. We're going to have a couple of polling questions that we'll ask as we make our way through the webinar, because we're here to serve all of you, and learning about your environments and what this means to you is critical to us and to our ability to serve. In many ways, as we look at the impact of what we're going through at Pharos, this is so new for us. We're learning every day. We need to make sure that we're learning together, not just inside of Pharos, but with all of our clients as well. And what we're going through is a big change, but it's also it's an impact that it doesn't matter whether we're talking about work or our personal lives. It impacts all of us as human beings and as workers and friends, colleagues, however you look at it. So let me just first start by saying what we don't have an opportunity to share every day, but we certainly think about every day, and that is that we hope that this time finds you and your families healthy and safe, and in an environment where you are able to be productive and together, and to take care of each other. Because I think anything we talk about at this point, that is first and foremost. So even though we haven't been necessarily speaking with everybody on a regular basis, certainly our thoughts, our planning, and our actions have kept all of you in mind. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through. I'm just going to preface this for a short few minutes on Pharos, how we're looking at this environment and what we've done, and then we're going to jump into questions both submitted and those that you will be submitting today. So we talk about this time that we're going through, and obviously the biggest and most immediate crisis or challenge that's upon us is the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic that we were all facing. But it's really one piece of what are two globally unprecedented changes or crises that we're all facing. The first being maintaining health in this environment, and we're obviously reasonably down the path in this world, whether we are in the United States, in portions of it beginning to hit the peak and making our way over the peak, or we have yet to hit that peak. It's a life that we've been living for a while. There's a second element of this, which is the economic impact of our response to COVID, and that is one that is really just beginning. We all are aware of that it's coming, and we're trying to deal with what we anticipate, but it's also very hard to anticipate what the economic fallout or impact is going to be. So in many ways, at least all the forecasts that we're seeing is that this crisis number two, the economic crisis, the impact to us, our businesses, us as workers, is going to last far longer than the disease itself. So we'll talk a little bit about both of these, because we need to address both as an organization and as communities. So one of the things that I shared early on with the Pharos team as we started looking at what was happening and our ability to respond and take action was there's certainly things that go on in the world that are outside of our control. And this whole pandemic, in many cases, the decisions that are being made, the impact of those decisions, we cannot control whether or not that was coming our way. We can't stop it. We can't redirect it. We can, however, control how we respond to it. And the faster we're able to accept that we can't control everything that's in front of us, but we can control how we respond, dictates a lot of the quality of that response. And that's really how we've been trying to look at this from the get-go. We've shared with a number of you who are clients and partners that at Pharos, we believe that what is foundational to us as a business and what most organizations look for from us is change. They want to be different, and we are a change agent for them. And as a consequence, we focus heavily on the nature of what change means. And we train every single employee deeply on the nature of change, because we as an organization need to be able to change, and we have to help our clients with the nature of change. And I pull this slide out. It's a slide from our internal training on change, because one of the things we recognize is that with every change, small or large, come emotional challenges. And if you aren't managing the emotions of change, you're not managing the change. Change is human. Whether it's a small impact, which many of us in our space have gone through, trying to pull somebody's personal printer from underneath their desk and dealing with their emotional impact of losing a tool that they have become accustomed to, all the way up to what we're going through now, which is absolutely massive change on a global scale. All change has emotion, and all change starts off with immobilization and denial and anger and fear as people try to come to grips with a world that has changed, a status quo, a world that they're used to, that has been shaken up. And that's where we've been. What we learn is that these emotions, immobilization, denial, anger, fear, they are not to be avoided. They can't be avoided. Rather, they're to be managed. So all of our employees are going through this. All of us on the phone are going through it. Our families are going through this. And our ability to embrace the nature of the fear that comes along with change, especially change of this size, and to be able to accept it, to accept those emotions and to begin to get past it, moves us into that realm where we can begin to accept the world, accept these changes, and start taking positive actions forward. And that's really what our prime focus at Pharos is embrace these early stages of emotional reaction. Don't deny them, embrace them, but then make our way through and into looking at how do we use this? How do we grow? How do we change? How do we become stronger? How do we serve better? Rather than getting mired in the stages of denial and so forth. Acceptance of change is where growth really occurs. So one of the things that we also took a look at was what is the story that we want to be able to tell? As we were sending people home and people were nervous about their jobs or how they were going to work or how things were going to work, I took a moment to step back and reflect on what is the story we want to tell a year from now? And I bring this up because all of us are facing this exact same situation. What's the story we want to tell our family about what we did as we were facing this unseen challenge? What's the story we want to be able to tell our partners? How about our customers? How about our colleagues? To the extent that we can define the story that we choose to tell, we have the ability to start taking acceptance and start taking the steps down that path. So I'll share my story, at least the very end of it that I shared with our team, and that is this, and it's because it impacts all of you and what we hope to be able to be for all of you as we make our way through. And that is that as we look at this change, we want our customers and our partners to be able to reflect back that Pharos took this change and seemed untouched by this impact, untouched by the challenge of losing offices, having to be home, the changes to the economy, the pandemic, and that we were able to serve in a positive way right straight through this process. Knowing that's not the case. We are under as much disruption as anybody else, but it is our choice to find ways to rise above this challenge, to see the opportunity that exists in any eventuality, any adversity brings with it opportunity, to embrace that and be stronger on the other side. So this is who we choose to be. This is the story we want to tell, and we'd like to tell it with you. So let me jump into what where we are as an organization and what we have done. So first and foremost, like many of you, earliest steps that we went to as soon as we saw that the scope of the change that was coming our way and the impacts, we pulled out our business continuity plan. We had refreshed it just not that long ago, just a couple of years ago, we had refreshed our business continuity disaster recovery because as we move into cloud printing and into cloud services, we recognize that our nature as a company is changing, and we had anticipated a scenario in which we lost one or both of our offices. So we were able to pull out our continuity plans, implement them, and we had already made choices that made all of our workers able to work from home. So number one, we pulled out the business continuity plan and started implementing and improving it along the way. Second thing we did is we took care of our number one priority, which was our employees. That comes first, and it always comes first at Pharos. Our employees are our number one priority, so ensuring that they were in a place that was safe, healthy, informed became step number one. Second was our customers and our partners. And what we've been trying to do in that regard is dramatically increasing our communications. This has involved Lindsay and her role, significantly more communications with clients and with customers and partners. We reached out and provided to customers free professional services to support them through this process. We recognized that organizations were not in a position where they could necessarily start drafting purchase orders or identifying need. They just needed a helping voice on the other end for IT support or questions or answers. So we provided all of our professional services free of charge. And then we went after our essential businesses, our healthcare workers, our government employees, other essential customers, whether we're talking about banks and consulting organizations, those of our customers who serve those who are at home. There are many businesses that we are relying on. To the extent that they are relying on Pharos, we've reached out to them to make sure that we've aligned our practices and processes with theirs. And last, what we've worked on from day one, but really becomes the longer term impact, is looking at our business and preparing our business for both the short and longer term economic and business changes that are underway. And all of these will continue to be ongoing. But suffice it to say that that all of our employees, I'm pleased to say so far, all of our employees are healthy. All of our employees are home and in safe places. And all of our employees are in a position in which they are both productive and effective and ready to serve. So as we look at Pharos, we are fully up and running and serving our clients as we go. So we appreciate those of you who have reached out to us, and we ask you to continue to do that. Do not hesitate to come to us, because that is what we are here for. So I think Lindsay's got the first of our two questions that we're going to ask, and as she does that, I'll switch over to getting into some Q&A questions. And while we're doing that, feel free to continue to enter questions in the chat.
Sounds good. So I'm going to launch this right away. So the question is, my organization is planning for multiple longer-term scenario responses based on the effects of the pandemic. 3 to 6 month plan, 6 to 12 month plan, 12 to 18 months. We have no plans beyond 3 months, and I don't know. Just give everybody a couple more seconds there.
There was a question that was asked of what do we do if we have multiple plans? What I would say is enter the longest window in which you are planning. We're trying to best align with those people who are looking at what activities do you need most help with, immediate, midterm, longer term, and so forth. So take the longest one if you're working on. I assume everybody's working on something in the immediate.
All right, I'm going to close this. Thank you to everyone who responded.
Excellent. Thanks, Lindsay. So let's jump into questions, and we did have several that had been submitted. First one that we'll deal with is from one of our university clients who said we're moving to online courses for the rest of the semester and for the summer semester. Don't know when things will return to normal or if this is our new normal. I expect more faculty and staff will choose online classes. There will be more remote work than ever before. This drastically impacts printing on campus. How do you see Pharos responding to the changing environment? And it's a good question. Clearly, all universities are facing this at some level or another. And in my response, I look at this really on two levels. There's a couple pieces that are inside of this question. One is the nature of what happens to printing, because we've seen a drastic reduction in office printing. Naturally would, doesn't matter what industry you're in. If the office is closed, office printing is dramatically declined. So there's the question of how do we look at the declining use of printing and its impact on Pharos as a print service provider or solution provider. And then the second question is this nature of work and how we look at work and this Uber mobility that we've moved into. So let me take the first. From a printing standpoint, it is possible, and I'm guessing it's highly likely that even as we start moving back into the offices, that those moves will come in starts and stutters. It's not going to be a light switch. So printing will begin to ramp back up inside of organizations, and it may stay low and lower for quite some time. From a Pharos standpoint, when we listen to our customers, they talk about printing not so much on how much printing they do, but rather printing as a dial tone service that they need to provide. And as a dial tone service, it has to work. When end users need it, they need it, whether they're printing 2 pages or whether they're printing 200 pages. So when we look at Pharos and our role is to make sure that that dial tone service is up and functioning. And we really don't care whether you're printing 1 page or 1 million pages, that dial tone service needs to be there. So from that standpoint, we are continuing to look at the dial tone. The second piece is somewhat related to that, and that is this Uber mobility world that we've moved into. We've been migrating towards mobility. We just took a huge step to ultra mobility. Everybody's working remote and at home and disparate. We believe that there will be ramifications of this on an ongoing basis, and that organizations will be looking at how do I enable this ultra mobile cross site, cross organization, cross network coordination, and how does printing work in that? And in many ways, we think that the work that we've already been doing around our cloud infrastructures, cloud print infrastructures, zero trust environments for printing are all about supporting Uber mobility. So we think, if anything, as we begin to step back up, there'll be a more of a migration to this cloud-based infrastructure for printing. So we are heavily looking at what we need to do in that arena to support organizations going forward. So I think there's a dual element to that question. Let me move on to another question. This is one of our corporate clients saying, I've been dying to eliminate print servers and have been harping on upper management to do so for a long time. With COVID, our budgets have been frozen and we can't make changes at this point. What can I do in this environment? Can Pharos help me with this or future planning? And this is a good question. We've seen this in a few different flavors. And one of the things that we've been talking about internally and we are working on how we support is this nature of organizations that are not operating at full capacity, whether that means we can't get budgets or we can't process payroll. We can't, or not payroll, but purchase orders. We can't get approvals for this, but we need to move forward. You will find that Pharos is going to be ultra flexible in this world. Our aim is to support you in the environment in which you are operating. So if this means that we need to work with you in an environment of trust, help to support you to create the changes that you need as you come back and work with you in a more flexible way, we are happy. We're happy to do that, and that's why we're here. What I would suggest is anybody who finds yourself in that mode where you're looking to get projects done, but your internal processes are ground kind of to a halt, by all means, reach out to us. We're here to help. So good, very good question. Another university question. Our university, like most other organizations across the world, have been forced to remote work and work from home, even for employees that don't normally work from home. That would include me. Once the initial push to get everyone set up to work from home, what have you done in your organization, and what would you recommend for hours to keep the staff productive and motivated? And this is a fantastic question, and one that I'd love to have spend a day with all of you, because we're all facing it. Those of us who are used to working in offices. One thing that I'm focused on personally, which I can share, is a significant increase in communication. Making sure that we are working much more closely together, communicating more regularly, doing that extra step to reach out. If we can't be in physical touch with people, it doesn't mean we can't be in social touch with people. Pharos created a virtual happy hour our first Friday that we were home. We set it up, and one of the comments that was made by somebody who attended, he said, "This is the best happy hour we've had in a long time as an organization." And I think it was twofold. One is it was people that were yearning to be in social contact with each other. So we're all in this boat together, and recognizing that and providing that outlet was tremendously helpful. And the second was we've had this two-world sort of two-world environment that we operate in. We have workers who are remote, and we have workers who are in the office. And the workers in the office haven't always appreciated what the workers who are remote go through. It's too easy for us to get the social contact. So in many ways, we are becoming advantaged in learning how to work better in this remote environment. And I think if anybody will benefit from this, it's the people who have been working remote, who have felt like they've been distant from the rest of the organization. Hopefully we'll all remember that and remember to reach out to them once our offices are back open. I guess the last piece I would add from my standpoint is not being able to get up and walk around and talk to people means that we need to be much clearer in communication. So we have been doing that, trying to be much clearer in what's expected. And one of the questions I'm faced with that I don't have an answer to is, are we more or less productive right now than we were when we were in our office? I don't have a great answer to that one yet. We'll see in the coming weeks.
Hey, Kevin, we did have a question come in regarding projects that are currently in the works with Pharos. How will the impact of recent changes affect the path moving forward if organizations are already working with us?
Yeah, that's a good question. We have a lot of customers who we've seen an acceleration of projects, especially in the university world. Those organizations that wait for the summer to do IT type projects and infrastructure type projects found that their summer got here a little sooner. So once the students were gone, we've seen universities who've accelerated work with us, and we've had to adjust to be able to work remotely. One of the blessings that we have as an organization, as an IT organization, is we can work remotely. Most of you on the phone are IT support as well and can work remotely. So we can find ways to continue to work together, and most of our projects are continuing to work and push forward. Some that of our global projects that were touching parts of the world, that whether it be in China, we had some activity that was being focused in China, in Africa, and we have seen a little bit of a retrenchment there to becoming more North American focused or North America, Europe focused, having to take into account the different natures of what's going on. But the remote work and the infrastructure work continues. What's hard to have continue, and what we've seen begin to slow down, Those works where people have to be out touching printers. Printer installations, when we talk to our partners, many of them have seen a dramatic slowdown in the installation of printers and the support of printers in businesses and in offices. And we ride along with that. So we're prioritizing the work that can be done remotely, working with customers and clients to get that remote access. Very few of our projects have stopped in that regard. They've just adjusted.
I do think this is a good time to ask our second polling question.
Great.
I'm going to throw that up here real quick. Our future software plans are likely to be influenced by this pandemic. You can choose more than one here. So no changes, status quo, dealing with the current situation. Our plans are shifting, but we don't have a direction yet. We are proactively making adjustments to our IT environment. The software purchasing process has been affected, and it's affecting our IT infrastructure and cloud migration. I see responses coming in, so we'll just give a couple more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Thank you. Last one, I promise.
I did see another question that came up, somewhat product specific, but looking at our the Pharos Sentry driverless printing technology, which is originally aimed at our cloud infrastructure, although it does cross over into our other products, and our cross-vendor IMFP software. All of that is continuing. Some of our developers, whether we're talking in New Zealand or the US, have found that they've got some absolutely massive home printers sitting in their office or in their basements. Because in order for us to work with printers and not be in the office, we've moved those to people's houses. So they'll have large MFPs sitting in their house as they continue to do work. We are continuing down this path without question. The driverless open printing, cross-vendor MFP software, all of our development continues on path. In fact, our latest release of our cloud technology, our Beacon technology, which is also sold through partners, was delivered after the first week of all the offices being forced closed. So our ability to continue to support both the development and delivery from an operational standpoint continues. And if anything, we are having more organizations looking to us to talk about cloud infrastructures or external infrastructures and mobility. So from our standpoint, I believe our development certainly can get hit and make some impact. Our aim as an organization, and thus far we've been able to hit it, is not to decommit from any of our committed dates, to continue to hit all development dates going forward. So hopefully that answers that question. Looks like we may have time for one more, Lindsay, unless is there one there, or do you want?
I don't have any more submitted live during this, but I did want to say, depending on how many other ones we had submitted ahead of time, if people want to stay on a few minutes longer, we can do that. I just, if anybody needs to drop off, they're welcome to.
Great.
I just wasn't sure how many questions you had left over there.
There are a couple that we haven't touched on, so I can go ahead and answer those. And I appreciate it again, for those of you who will be dropping off in the next minute or two, appreciate you taking the time to spend with us. And there is no reason why the questions need to stop here. Send them in, give us a call, reach out to us. We're here to serve. So one of the questions was relatively specific, but ties into virtual workers, and that is there a way for our virtual workers, the people who are at home, to send print jobs to the office so that people in the office can retrieve them and perform their jobs? Because I know a number of organizations like ours, we left people in the office when we moved others out of the office. And we specifically minimized the number of people in the office for health reasons. But it doesn't mean that we don't need to communicate and potentially print and enable. And the quick answer to that is yes, this is a perfect example of our cloud infrastructure. which is not dependent upon any specific network. So the ability to use our cloud infrastructure, print from home, to be retrieved at the office without VPN software, the answer is yes, that can be done. One step even further is because we have the ability to do so with mobile release and even QR codes, the use of a QR code, it is possible to have QR codes remote and release jobs remotely for people in the office as well. So if you've got some specific business workflows that demand that, the answer is yes, we can help you to do that. We can even, if you don't have our cloud product, we can help people get set up with the cloud product remotely without visiting the site and enable this kind of workflow. So it is a good question. It's an example of this Uber mobility that we're being asked for. And I think the last question was another one that I'm guessing came in from a university, and that was, is there a touchless print available in Uniprint? Something that's very sensitive to people in this environment, and we certainly all understand. As people begin to come back to work, do we force people to continue to touch the interface of printers? When we go to the supermarket, I'm not allowed to touch even the point of sale device without somebody coming along and cleaning it before I do. And I don't anticipate people doing that at the office. So is there a way for us to do it without touching the output device? The quick answer to this is not yet in Uniprint. It does exist in our other technologies, and we've taken this opportunity and this question that was submitted to begin the conversations of what that would look like and how we could make that happen inside of our Uniprint product, usually being done through a mobile phone and a mobile interface versus the Uniprint interface or the MFP interface itself. So this is a good question. I'd say we don't have it for Uniprint. We have it for our other products, but we have taken this one back to development, and it is something that we're discussing internally now. So with that, I think I've captured all of the earlier submitted questions.
Okay, and I don't have any other ones that came in. So with that, I would like to thank everyone for joining us today, and thank you, Kevin, for all your wonderful responses to the questions. And in order to continue to stay connected, active, and learning together, we will be offering more webinars over the next couple of months, as well as virtual seminars. So an upcoming topic this month is the when and why of replacing or supplementing Uniprint with Beacon. And May will have additional topics all around serverless printing, zero trust networks, and mobile printing. So stay tuned for details on those upcoming events. And we appreciate you spending your valuable time with us, and we wish you all continued health and safety during these crazy times. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Lindsay, one other question that popped up right at the end. Yes, we will share the results of the polls. We'll send that out to everybody so that you can see the results. So yes. Thank you all for joining, and I echo Lindsay, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.